class, we explored the ways in which digital tools and technology have changed our current intellectual process in both our professional and personal lives in themes surrounding writing, literacy, and the advances in technology. First, I developed an understanding of the meaning of literacy. In today's world, literacy means something different than the 1900s, that's for sure. 1900s. People are not just writing formal documents for school or work. They are writing through emailing, texting, blogging, and using different forms of social media to express themselves through words. Clive Thompson, in the New Literacy and Literacy, an introduction to the ecology of written language, writes, technology isn't killing our ability to write. It's reviving it and pushing our literacy in bold, new directions. I like that. Okay. Oops. Here we go. And we go like this. First paragraph done. This class has reinforced that literacy is a social activity and can be described in terms of people's literacy practices which they draw upon in literacy events. David Barton, author of Literacy: An Introduction to the Ecology of Written Language, shares how a variety of occasions in everyday life use written words. Literacies are identified culturally in a variety of settings: school, church, home, and work. There are different places in life where people act differently and use language differently. This applies in my life every day. I work as a reporter at WKMG. In the past, journalists had one job and one way to get the news out. Today, I'm a multimedia journalist. Less people are watching television to get their news. They're getting it from news apps, Facebook, Twitter, websites, or watching the online live streaming version. The times are changing rapidly. For each social networking site, I have to learn how to write in less characters, yet grab the viewer's attention. Between the likes and comments, I alter my writing ability so I can reach a certain audience. Literacy is in its growing stages as technology changes. Barton says to take the example of home, school, and work, typically people wear different clothes, talk differently, take on different roles, have different purposes. These different locations are what Barton considers a domain. A domain is the link between literacy and reality. This showcases how people in different settings with a broader social network of vast technologies can communicate with one another. What I learned from this book is that people are using more literacy in their everyday life. Through this, a range of subjects and contemporary ideas are being mulled over and talked about. The fact is, our younger generation is writing, yet with a different audience in mind. Before the internet, when some people wrote a document, it was typically for one person's eye to see at one time. Now, with the internet, the letters that form words that then form sentences create messages for a larger audience base. When we read, explored, and researched and had group discussions, we criticized the ways in which digital technologies are constantly transforming the writing practices and the way we communicate was very insightful. My favorite project of this class was working with my group to gain better insight on literacy and social media combined. When we designed the project, we imagined our audience ranging from ages 18 to 35, but focusing on students in college. We presented our fellow classmates by presenting real-world scenarios that affected social media users and conducted research about how social media directly impacts human trafficking in the porn industry. We also talked about material from the text and related it to the findings on Amanda Cummings and how social media could have a negative effect. Although there are downfalls of social media, it can also have a positive effect by creating an online community and a sense of relationship. Every day, there are new social outlets, whether it may or may not be a fad. We see an increase of user involvement, such as websites, apps, and video games. During our group discussion, we had numerous conversations about these topics. Students were able to see why social media and the ecologies of literacy are transforming the way others interact. For the benefits of students, we wanted to find the most relative information through our research that would entertain and provide an educational insight on the latest relations of social media. For example, we wanted students to critically think about the involvement of social media and how they have helped social media become so dominant. The actions play a role in how social media creates negative and positive impacts. We also used Jacob Cox Brown as an example of self-regulation. We displayed how his actions of admitting to a crime over the internet led to his arrest. After we mentioned this, we had a group discussion about the importance of our actions of social media. What we say and do on social media matters. That day, we talked about the event that struck fright within many students at UCF living in the dorms. A former business student at UCF, James Savakaran, 30, living in Tower 1, was planning on attacking students, but instead turned a gun on himself. That day was an eerie Monday because students repeatedly got alerts from UCF and was rigorously checking the UCF Facebook feed for more information on the situation. For some students, this was the only way they were able to get updates on what was currently taking place in their housing community. Unfortunately, the social media messages that were streaming to students were filled with inaccurate information. In class, we talked about the false promises, incorrect messages, and how UCF was using this as a PR cover-up instead of relaying truthful information. Every click of a keyboard to formulate a message can provide insight on a situation or give positive or negative feedback on social space pages. The UCF Facebook page was filled with students writing inappropriate comments and banter about what they think administration should do, along with messages saying there was no threat or no harm to the community. In this case, we know digital tools provide information through technology was used, but sent incorrect messages to their audiences. Our transliteracy project was a way in which such practices enhance, inform, or change our relationship to a multitude of literacy and writing practices. This creative design undertaking was encompassing one of my secrets that only my close family saw me battle for years. I knew I was different than most children, but I didn't know what it was. One day, I went to see Ellen Solomon, an audiologist, and learned I process information differently. My brain was delayed at communicating people's responses, so it took longer for me to translate their message and understand what others said before I responded. I always found it so frustrating to talk. She explained that I had an auditory processing disorder. At the time, I didn't even understand what the audiologist was saying. I thought, does this mean I'm dumb? Can I not learn to read and write? Will I always be slow in class? All these questions got answered in time. This project allowed me to reflect on how literacy and technology impacted my growth. From it, I also created a video and a website that explains the elongated definition of APD. Usually individuals with APD have normal structure and function of the outer, middle, and inner ear, like me. However, they cannot process the information they hear in the same way as others do, which leads to difficulties in recognizing and interpreting sound, especially the sound composing speech. It is thought that these difficulties arise from the dysfunction in the central nervous system. APD has been referred to as dyslexia for the ears. This project was enlightening because I suffered with APD. But overall, I believe if a parent of an APD child went to the website I created or saw the video I made, it will be an educational tool to help them. Once they understand what this disorder is, they need to find the tools of how to help their child, and through my video, I was able to provide them with that information. In this class, we constantly explored the ways in which digital tools impacted the literacy we use daily. My connection with Twitter was very limited before I took ENC 3417. I learned that Twitter is an online social networking service, kind of like a space page, and microblogging service that enables its users to send and read text-based messages of up to 140 characters known as tweets. In the beginning of the semester, I wasn't sure how to actively participate in adding enrichment material of sources I found that pertained to the themes we studied listed in our course syllabus. Through trial and error, along with my professor, Dr. Wall's guidance, I was able to understand the benefits of class participation on Twitter. My tweets improved in time as I found information that would be beneficial, educational, and interesting to fellow peers because it expanded upon the concepts we were learning. All in all, I walk away from this class having a stronger grasp on the correlation between digital tools, technology, and space pages that have changed the current intellectual theories of literacy and writing. To sum it up, Dennis Barron from A Better Pencil says, anyone with a login can post profiles consisting of text, pictures, and music on these sites, furnishing the internet-enabled public with detailed interest. Where's that quote? There it is. And a whole lot more. People are bypassing old methods and communicating more conventional through messaging programs. There we go. The internet has enabled and accelerated new forms of human interactions through different forms of messages. Each social networking site is a space page where you enter with some form of identification of literacy. Writing, literacy, and technology are key in the radical transformation of how we communicate. So, let's fix this. Internet. And one more thing. The end. Great class. Learned a lot. And very thankful. For literacy and technology, because if not, I would not be able to type this paper. Hooray! Delete.